Good morning and welcome to the Daily Cyber Briefing for Tuesday, the 11th of February. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Apple has patched or is pushing out a patch to a vulnerability which bypasses the controls over Lightning or USB ports on iPhones or iPads. So for the uninitiated, if your iPhone or iPad or iThing, I've heard them described as, has been locked or has been inactive for, I think, about an hour, access to the device through either its Lightning port on most devices or the USB port on the latest devices becomes disabled. Now, the reason for that is because malactors, including government agencies, have been known to use physical connections to the device in order to bypass security controls on the device and access data or access the device itself. So the port gets switched off. Now, it turns out that there is a vulnerability in the process which switches off or disables that port, which has been, according to Apple, has been exploited on a handful of very targeted occasions. I think we can guess that we're talking here about government agencies, rather than anything else, I would guess, but I don't know. So they have pushed out an update. The update is available right now. If you are concerned about physical access to your device, it is recommended to upgrade to iOS 18.3.1, iPad OS 18.3.1, or iPad OS 17.7.5. The updates are available for iPhones XS and later, and a large swathe of iPad in its various different models. I think Apple has been trying to maintain privacy on its devices. I think that, and I'm broadly with them on the approach that the majority of users are entitled not to be snooped on by either criminals or their own government. They should be left to get on and do their own stuff, and that the requirements for government agencies to snoop on users, whilst they are legitimate, need to be very tightly controlled, which they're not. And generally there is an endless push, quite relentless pressure, just to give governments access to everything, which may sound good, but is only really good for the people who control access to the data. Have a look at China if that's what you want to, if that's the sort of society you want to live in, then you don't have my support. There we go. Right, so some more generic information, but quite interesting. There has been a significant reduction in the number of organizations paying ransomware, paying the ransom rather, during a ransomware attack. That's dropped by around 35% year on year in 2024. The stats are now out. It's dropped from about $1.25 billion in 2023 to 813 or so million in 2024, according to reports from blockchain analysis. Which is interesting because blockchain is mostly is publicly available. The ledgers are publicly readable. It is possible that this represents a certain amount of the truth. It will be an underestimate. It could just be a quirk, but equally, the number of ransomware attacks hasn't been seen to be reducing. It is now the case that, again, estimated from research, that only 30% of victims who enter negotiation with attackers ultimately pay a ransom. Now, I think that is, firstly, I think that's a good thing. Extortion only works because the extorters get something out of it. If it becomes less likely that they will actually get something from it, they're less likely to put effort into pursuing it. I think also various other things have happened on the defender side. Firstly, organizations are much better now and much better prepared to recover from these sorts of events. So the actual encryption or denial of access to your services is now something that can be routinely recovered from in line with most BCP plans, RTOs, RPOs, whatever. It will get most organizations these days back to where they need to be within an acceptable amount of time. Certainly in our experience where we've done tabletop exercises testing this out with organizations, I would say that this is, over the last few years, has improved greatly. The other side of it is around the leak of data, the release of stolen data. And I would say again that organizations now have better contingency plans than they used to in order to deal with this sort of stuff. So how do you get on top of the narrative? How do you deal with your customers? How do you deal with, and the fallout from these events is rarely as significant as it used to be. It's frustrating. It's difficult. There is now so much leaked data out there that it has kind of lost its shock and awe value to some extent. So if you do get hit by ransomware and you do decide not to pay, you are in good company. It's a minority of organizations that actually pay up these days. And you've got to bear in mind that paying up does not guarantee that either there's no point in thinking of paying up in order to get access back to stuff, because you don't know that it will actually work. You will actually get access back to your stuff, and B, you don't know what's happened to it whilst it's not been in your control. So are you recovering things to a state that you're confident you can work with, you're confident that allows you to pick up and carry on as a business? And I think the answer to that is no. There is no reason to believe that you are recovering good data by decrypting through paying the ransom. And then also, you may find yourselves in legal problems as a business if you inadvertently provide payments to what are deemed sanctioned organizations, terrorist organizations. There are all sorts of legal reasons why paying a ransom may be a bad thing to do. So if you choose not to pay, you're in good company. And then finally from me, an interesting, less to do with cybersecurity directly and more to do with the direction of movement, and something to think about in in the arena of the shifting field of things that we have to try and protect. Harrogate and District NHS Foundation Trust has announced that it's using AI-powered systems to enhance the analysis of chest X-rays, allowing for faster diagnosis and improved patient care. So, turns out when you look into it that over the last couple of years, AI has become a significant tool in the diagnostics in hospitals. Previously, Harrogate's used AI to detect trauma-related injuries like fractures, dislocations, and so on. It's been doing that since July 23. Harrogate is the latest of 6 Yorkshire radiology departments to implement advanced AI to help with diagnostics, which I think is absolutely, in my personal opinion, it's fantastic use of AI. I mean, I think where reviews have been undertaken, AI has been shown to reliably make good diagnoses given the information. If it's presented with good data, it's given made good diagnoses, and it makes them much faster. And there's no indication at the moment that this stuff is autonomous. I think it's a tool used by clinicians in order to assist with diagnosis. So yeah, I think that's an absolutely fantastic step in the right direction. Raises 2 cybersecurity, sort of high-level cybersecurity issues in my mind. First one is NHS technology, in my both professional and personal experience, is disjointed at best, inefficient, and mostly struggles with security. So how do we gain confidence that where these systems are being used for making diagnoses rather than just holding data and so on, that the information is secure and that it remains unaltered, unadulterated. So I think the whole CIA aspects of security is CIA. No, well, okay, maybe it isn't entirely that, but it's a fair amount of that. I think this is a good case where you want to be sure that it would. And the other one is that the AI models that exist have so far been shown to be highly susceptible to manipulation one way or another, architectural vulnerabilities, or simply it's the nature of the things. How do you, if it is genuinely AI rather than just some just a little clever bit of querying a database, it's very difficult to put in place guardrails, as they're referred to these days, that are actually efficient. So definitely worth having a think about how much you want AI to be making medical decisions. And there's definitely a very much a personal risk assessment that you recommend that you have a little think about if this stuff is going on, and be informed, I suspect, is probably the best you can do. Anyway, that's all from me for today. I hope you have a good Tuesday.